a game of blame Whitey, blame the victim in Cincinnati. Newsflash, it's not 2020. 2, Russiagate. It turns out everyone is interested. Polling shows well over half of Americans want to hear what's going on in the Russiagate hoax. But the media has only managed to give you 2 minutes and 17 seconds with Miranda Divine. 3, Texas has redistricted to add 5 seats to the United States Congress, and all hell is broken loose as Democrats have run to Illinois with Joey Jones. It is Will Cain Country, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, and the Fox News Facebook page every Monday through Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. Set a reminder and hit subscribe. Drop into the comments section and become a member of the Willisha. If you're listening on terrestrial radio, head over to Spotify or head over to Apple and hit subscribe. Hang out with us here on Will Cain Country whenever and however you like, on demand. 2-a-days Dan, Tinfoil Pat, and yours truly here with you on a Monday. What's up, fellas? Did you have yourselves a nice little weekend?
Not too bad. Pretty hot up here still. Pretty hot, but not bad.
Have you broken into, started any new series, Dan? I did this weekend. I actually had a fairly social weekend. I had a little bit of a lake day.
Wow.
It's kids,
Man
not
about
back
town.
to school, but back to sports. Yeah. Football camp has started, so we had a lot of different things like that going on this weekend. But I did take some time to start a series, which I don't know. I don't say with any level of confidence that you should dive in on. I can't say my seal of approval or recommendation, even though I like it. I'm into it. But I acknowledge that I'm into this kind of thing. It is Jason Momoa's Chief of War on Apple TV.
It looked
It's about
interesting.
The kingdom
cover.
of Maui, the kingdom of Oahu, and the kingdom of Kauai, all waging war on one another right before it is unified into the kingdom of Hawaii, but also right before the white man not just lands, he's already done so with Captain James Cook, but begins to really exert his influence over the Hawaiian Islands. The hard thing, and why I can't give it a full ringing endorsement for you, although I can fight through, is the whole damn thing is in Hawaiian. Like, that's what they speak. It's subtitled. Jason Momoa, every character, they're speaking Hawaiian. And by the way, from this show and every other thing he's been in, one of my boys said it, like, one of the last guys I want to have on a vengeful tirade or on the wrong side of me is Jason Momoa. That dude is a specimen.
Khal Drogo.
He's a beast. Yes, Khal Drogo, Jason Momoa. You don't want to get sideways with him. But do you have one, Dan? You're a big television viewer. Do you have a series that we need to load up here before football season gets started?
I do, and I texted you guys about it last week. Never heard back. That's fine. Don't worry about it. It's called Untamed on Netflix with Eric Bana. Fantastic. It's broken a lot of Netflix records now in terms of viewership. And it's fantastic. I love it.
Okay.
It's set in Yosemite National Park. It's a murder mystery type deal. It's really good.
Okay. So, as everybody that knows in my personal and professional life, I'm a horrific communicator. Text Will, you don't get a response. That is not just my wife, not just my friends. I got a text from one of my friends last night that said, "You're a horrible communicator with your friends." So everybody that works with me and asks me to appear on Varney or something and doesn't hear back, just know it's work, it's personal, it's everywhere. I'm bad.
That's okay.
But that doesn't mean I'm not listening.
Patrick didn't
I'm
either,
just not
so.
responding. I watched Untamed.
Yeah.
I did not respond to your text, but because you do have some influence on me,
Okay.
and I do take your recommendation seriously, or did, I watched Untamed, the whole thing. I burned through it on my flight back from Hawaii. And I've been meaning to bring this up. It's not good, Dan. You just gave it a fantastic and a ringing endorsement.
Nope, you're wrong.
And it's not good,
Nope,
Dan.
You're wrong. I will fight you on this for the end of time. That is so.
Can I tell you what it
What's
feels
wrong
like?
with it?
Okay, I love the gist of it. I love the packaging. Yosemite National Park,
Beautiful.
murder mystery, Native American stuff in there. Love it. Love it. In. It felt like the entire time I was watching it, it is 1 degree separation, one rung on the ladder, one higher spot on the totem pole than a Hallmark movie.
It's
off.
Dude, your credibility
It's
just
off,
dropped
dude.
a little bit in my book.
I
Dude.
think that you are deflecting, Lib. I think that you're accusing others of your own sin. Your credibility just went down is the point.
Wow.
It's the energy.
I'm getting heated.
Dan, the energy, the direction, the editing, something is off. It doesn't have the appropriate flow.
Bana's amazing.
Like, you know, a Hallmark, can't you imagine that a Hallmark movie on paper, like if you read the script, you're like, this is a really good movie. This is going to be fun. This has got drama. It's got things. And then when you watch it, you're like, it's off. It's overdramatic where it doesn't need to be, and it jumps in the plot and tension at times where it should linger. It's like too slow here, too fast there. Too dramatic here, not dramatic enough there. And the feel, the pace, the music, and you're a music guy, the music, I mean that metaphorically, the music of the show is off. I'm not saying it's
so
bad.
dark.
I'm just saying
It's not even close to a
not.
Hallmark movie.
the ringing endorsement.
Oh, man.
I
All
beg
right.
to differ.
Try it
Tell
again.
you
Watch
what,
it
you
again.
viewers can judge for yourself. If you have watched, drop it in the comment section. Who's right, Will or Dan?
Okay.
If you haven't watched, go ahead and give us your review and find out who you trust more in terms of recommendation, Will or Dan. All right, let's get to it, though, today. No further ado. Story number 1. Cincinnati, the site of the horrific brawl a little over 1 week ago, has now become the site of horrific news conferences coming from the city leadership of Cincinnati. The mayor was asked, has he visited any of the victims of that brawl? At least 2, perhaps 3 different white partygoers, Jazz Fest attendees on the streets of Cincinnati, jumped by something like a dozen black Cincinnatians on the streets. And this is what the mayor said about whether or not he visited any of them, including, for example, the now well-known Holly, introduced to us by Vivek Ramaswamy. And we have seen the horrible bruises and injuries suffered by Holly.
This was a fight. It was a horrific fight. But as Councilmember and others have said, we have significant other public safety challenges. We have children who are far too often the victims of gun violence. We have oftentimes far too often the perpetrators of gun violence being children. We have violent crime like every other major city across the nation that requires our attention and our bandwidth. And so I don't traditionally meet or speak to every victim of violent crime in our city, and that's consistent with my approach today.
No, I have not met with the victims, and this was nothing more than a fight, a bad fight. But I have all kinds of crime I have to worry about in this city, including things that are totally unrelated to our current conversation, like gun violence involving children. That's an embarrassing response from the mayor of Cincinnati. The entire conversation coming out of that city, from the mayor to the chief of police, seems to suggest 2 things are the takeaway. There are 2 things that you should be remembering about what you saw on your phone screens and on your television screens. Those 2 things are, A, it's not that big of a deal and it's been taken out of context. And B, increasingly, it's the fault of the victims. Over the weekend, Fox News had video come out and a social media post suggesting that the victims of this beating might have said the N-word. Did someone say the N-word? Damn right someone said the N-word. Who said the N-word? Can't say, don't know. All the beeps rob you of the ability to judge for yourself. That's what's being covered, among other curse words, in those beeps, coming from the videographer, the guy doing the filming, the crowd. Amidst all that, I guess I'm supposed to trust that somewhere in there, someone who doesn't have a hall pass, someone who doesn't have the card, used the word that everyone else was using because they do have the license to use the N-word. That's all in order to highlight for you the absurdity of this as a predicate for a brawl. So let me get this straight, Will. I'm being told someone who can't say the N-word said the N-word, but we'll never know because everybody that can say the N-word was using the N-word, and it's buried there amongst an avalanche of beeps. Yeah, that seems to be the story. Set aside, by the way, that if that happened, it appears that it's happening mid-fight or towards the tail end of the fight. So even if we were to assume that somehow that's justification for violence, it's after the fact of the occurrence of violence. And of course, using the N-word is not justification for violence. You can do with what you want on the internet. You can suggest whatever, man. Here in the civilized, rational world, that's not justification for violence. Okay, you're not supposed to use the N-word. Correct. It's wrong. Nobody endorses it. But you don't leap from that reality to the reality of, so stomp his ass out. All 10 of us. You don't go from A to Z without passing through B, C, D, and the rest of the alphabet. We've elevated this concept of not just racism, but peculiarly the N-word into license of everything and anything, including complete, as we've seen in our past, character indictment, reputation destruction. There is no punishment. This is what we've done as a society. This is what we've done culturally. This is what we've done rhetorically. There is no punishment that is too much for a racist. Should they get the death penalty? Somebody that uses the N-word? Should we have an open conversation in society about whether or not there's an element of people here that believe that is worthy of the death penalty? That's ridiculous. Nobody thinks. Okay. Is it worthy of a mass beating on the streets of Cincinnati? Assuming once again that it's true, buried beneath all of that avalanche of beeps. I think most rational people can hold these two thoughts in their head at the same time. One should not use the N-word. Using the N-word does not lead to justification for mob violence. But this flipping of the tables on the victims of this beating is the game being played by leadership in Cincinnati. Because it's not just the chief of police who's asking for context. It's not just the mayor diminishing it compared to other crimes in his cities. It's city leaders, like a pastor named Damon Lynch, who shared that very same podium at that very same moment in that very same press conference as the mayor of Cincinnati. And here is the pearl of wisdom from Damon Lynch.
They have not yet said something that I always hear when a black person, say, runs from the police and then is met with disproportionate force, sometimes ending their life. What we hear is, well, why did they run? Why didn't they just comply? We hear that every time. But I've yet to hear anybody say, why didn't he just walk away? So let me back up so you understand this. Two combatants, one black, one white. A black man steps in, breaks it up. The white guy re-engages, slaps, not the black man that he had just squared up with, but slaps another black man. And nobody's asking, why didn't he just walk away? This is racial because it is unequal justice. And so until we see all the mugshots, this is still a racial issue.
This is a racial issue. You're right about that. That's the one thing in this that I do believe you manage to see your way through the forest of illogic into a reality. The rest of that, good luck, dear viewer. Good luck, dear listener. Can you unwind that twisted logic? Just for giggles, let's see if we can. Because law enforcement requires, and the public believes, that when you come into an interaction with law enforcement, you should comply. Therefore, in a fight, you should run away. Having trouble with that. Hey, don't resist. Comply with the instructions of law enforcement. Somehow correlates to it's racist that he didn't run away from a fight in the streets of New York City outnumbered 10-1? Help me. Help me. I'm having trouble with this. Man who stands at an altar and preaches wisdom. And we haven't seen the mugshots of the victims, so that's racist because we have seen the mugshots of the attackers. This is what we're doing, Cincinnati? This is what we're doing, America? I don't think so. This isn't 2020. This insanity, while not gone, is lost its value. This currency has been debased. This knife is dull. This game has been exposed. You can do this in Cincinnati. You can try. And not only will we call you out right here for your openly blatant and racist line of attack, for your illogic and stupidity, inabilities to marshal a metaphor and analogy, but we as a nation will say no more. You're done. And my suspicion is, so will the people of Cincinnati. Goodbye, Chief. Goodbye, Mayor. Best of luck, Pastor. It ain't 2020. Everybody wants to hear about Russiagate, and well, they should. And yet, compared to the thousands of minutes devoted to 2015 and 16 Russiagate, you've gotten about 2 minutes of Russiagate hoax. We're going to break that down with Miranda Divine coming up on the Will Cain Country. "65% of Americans want to know about the hoax that was Russiagate." It is Will Cain Country, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, and the Fox News Facebook page. We hope you will set a reminder to be here every Monday through Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. We hope you will subscribe at Apple or on Spotify. The New York Post's Miranda Divine is also the host of a brand new podcast, Podforce One, and she joins us now on Will Cain Country. Miranda, congratulations on the new podcast. You're doing great. You got a ton of great guests. From what I hear, the numbers are killing it. Congratulations.
Thanks so much, Will. Very kind of you. It's going really well. And I think that's because we at the New York Post have such great access to all the administration officials and Donald Trump himself, as do you at Fox.
Yeah. You've had some big interviews, including already Donald Trump. You also have a column up, which I find absolutely fascinating, at the New York Post. Here's the headline. Russiagate lies are being exposed and everybody is watching, even Democrats. And you have some really, really fascinating stats here that come to us from Rasmussen. Let's just go through a few of these stats really quick. 2/3 of voters, 65%, are following declassified releases over the past month by DNI Tulsi Gabbard and Senator Chuck Grassley. 32% are following it very closely and 33% somewhat closely. But, Miranda, this was what I found equally as fascinating. It's the number of Democrats that are interested in this as well. You have in here, the poll shows 56% of Democrats are following the investigation, 32% believe serious crimes were committed, and 59% agree the perpetrators must be held accountable. The numbers, of course, ran much higher when it comes to Republicans. Everybody's interested in this story.
Everybody is. And I think that really gives Democrat leadership some sleepless nights, because it's their own people who are paying attention to this story, who have their ears pricked up, who also were lied to for years. They now see Donald Trump is back in office. He won in every single metric that was possible, including the popular vote. And yet they were told that his 2016 election was illegitimate, that it was driven by Vladimir Putin. And I think certainly half the country believed that. The audience of MSNBC, NBC, the readers of the New York Times and the Washington Post, they were told relentlessly that Donald Trump was an agent of Vladimir Putin, and that delegitimized his presidency. It sabotaged his first term. And now the public is going, hang on, here's the president again. He won obviously resoundingly, despite all the dirt thrown at him, despite the besmirching of his character. And wow, he's doing a good job. And actually, now we think despite all the baggage that he had to carry. And so I think that's created disillusionment in those lying propaganda media outlets, and disillusionment in the Democratic Party. And you're seeing that now with these Democrats who are paying attention to the story, who want accountability. They're woken up. They're just Americans, and they realize that this was a coup, as Tulsi Gabbard calls it, a years-long coup against Donald Trump, who was their president, their democratically elected president. Like him or loathe him, no one has the right to try and upend a president.
Yeah, and this stat comes to us, too, from a poll of a little over 1,100, almost 1,200 likely voters conducted in late July. 54% believe the Obama administration committed serious crimes in, quote, manipulating intelligence. 37% say it's very likely, and 17% say it's somewhat likely. And that brings us, Miranda, to what John Ratcliffe, head of the CIA, said this weekend to Maria Bartiromo.
So what I think I hear you saying is there is still an opportunity for indictments, potential prosecutions, accountability from those people who may have lied under oath, like John Brennan, James Comey, and perhaps Hillary Clinton.
Well, that's why I've made the referrals that I have. DNI Gabbard has made referrals. Yeah. And why we're going to continue to share the intelligence that would support the ability of our Department of Justice to make bring fair and just claims against those who have perpetrated this hoax against the American people and this stain on our country.
That sounds big, Miranda. Look, you and I have had a lot of conversations. We've talked about Hunter Biden's laptop. We've talked about the big guy. And you know as well as I do that the viewer and the listener have a well-earned level of cynicism about the potential for accountability. I think this one probably even has more, because you're talking about Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. Is there any hope for accountability beyond political? And political means you, the viewer and listener, learning along with me and Miranda right now and holding it against the liars. But is there any other form of accountability?
I think, the transparency and the fact to set straight the historical record can't be underestimated. But yes, I do. And I think the reason that I think there will be accountability this term is because President Trump told me that he regrets now being so merciful to Hillary Clinton in his first term. He pointed out that at his rallies, people were chanting, "Lock her up." But he decided when he got into office, look, she's the wife of a former president. She's a former Secretary of State. I want the country to heal. Let's just let bygones be bygones. But then they kept coming after him. He realizes now that accountability is a deterrent, that these people, they need to be heads on pikes, whether it's Hillary Clinton. I mean, Barack Obama is probably protected by presidential immunity, but he can still have the processes, the punishment thing that poor old Trump had to go through, lawyering up and having years of being hounded and having all his personal effects looked into. And who knows? I mean, he may get a different opinion. So whether it's Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton, certainly John Brennan and James Clapper, there are allegations quite firmly evidenced of perjury and also conspiracy. There's talk now, Stephen Miller has talked about it, and others about conspiracy. And we have a strike force at the Department of Justice under Pam Bondi, an Attorney General who's not sort of wedded to the institutions, actually understands, I think as all of Donald Trump's administration this time understand the level of malevolence that occurred against him in his first term, and they will never let it happen again. They're all, I think, singing from the same song sheet that they want accountability. So, you know, as we saw with the January 6th investigations and the Jack Smith investigations of Donald Trump, the Department of Justice has ways of finding crimes under every nook and cranny. And so at least I think that will be happening. And then it will be up to, I guess, juries to decide whether to convict these people.
That would be incredibly, incredibly refreshing. It also would be concerning for people like Mark Elias. Mark Elias is the Clinton lawyer who was very involved in the manufacture of the Steele dossier. You have this awesome quote in your column, which I encourage everybody to check out at the New York Post. So you can see it up here on our screen inside the Will Cain Country Studios in Dallas, Texas. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, this is what was said by Mark Elias. I am imploring, like honestly, I'm just imploring the media, do not report this as a legitimate investigation. Do not report this as they're opening an investigation into John Brennan. Report this as the misuse, the abuse, the authoritarian takeover of the Department of Justice. That should be the headline, said Mark Elias to MSNBC. Miranda.
I mean, what a joke. That shows the level of desperation, though. You know, he is begging people not to pay attention to the story. Please don't believe your lying eyes, he says. You know, I want you to see this as another sign of authoritarianism, which is their go-to with Donald Trump. It's Russia and it's authoritarianism. It's tying him to Putin. They really have zero imagination. This has been going on now for almost a decade. And so I think that's quite pleasurable to hear him say that, because it shows that they are desperate, that they have nothing, and they know that, you know, in John Brennan's own words back 9 years ago, the walls are closing in. Well, I think maybe they really are now for the wrongdoers who subverted the will of the American people and tried to topple a duly elected president. And if they liked him or they didn't like him, this was all about salving the egos of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, who were so humiliated by Donald Trump's legitimate victory. He didn't owe it to Vladimir Putin. He owed it to the good sense of the American people.
And then finally, you have this stat, because it seems like the media is listening to Mark Elias. And this is according to Gabbard's office, DNI Gabbard's office. ABC, CBS, and NBC spent 2,284 minutes covering Russiagate. Yet, they have only devoted 2 minutes and 17 seconds to the disclosures over the last couple of weeks about the hoax that was Russiagate. 2,284 to 2 minutes and 17 seconds, Miranda.
1/1000th. And you know that every minute that they have spent is spent debunking the Tulsi Gabbard evidence, debunking what Chuck Grassley is releasing. They're trying, they put on MSNBC and CNN, they have on John Brennan, they have on Mark Elias, they have on Clapper and co. Actually, I don't know, I haven't seen Clapper, but certainly they've had Brennan and Elias on. And they're just lying through their teeth again. I mean, John Brennan is, I mean, I guess you'd expect it from a CIA guy, but he's an inveterate liar. And he lied for the last 10 years about Donald Trump, and he's still lying to save his own skin. And And then you had the New York Times claiming, just trying to debunk what Tulsi Gabbard has put out, saying that, oh, this is Russian disinformation, this composite email that she released from that had been classified for many years, showing that Russians had hacked into or somehow obtained communications between a Soros operator and Hillary Clinton campaign operative, basically laying out the plan to dirty up Donald Trump, to tie him to Russia, to Putin, in order to distract from Hillary Clinton's email scandal. Hillary Clinton was in a world of pain towards the end of 2016, summer, fall of 2016. Her own Clinton Foundation pay-to-play scandal had erupted. Even the Associated Press was writing about it. You had all sorts of issues with her own health. She was collapsing. Remember at that 9/11 memorial in New York, she had to be bundled into a van. I mean, she had all sorts of problems. So they were desperate and they were clutching at straws, and they decided that they were going to use this this fake Russia collusion story and narrative, which they seeded into the media, into the Washington Post, into the New York Times, etc. And those media outlets just ran hell for leather. They exaggerated. They ran anonymous sources. This was intelligence operatives, John Brennan and his cronies, lying to them. And they didn't do any due diligence. They didn't act like journalists. They acted like propagandists. And they won Pulitzer Prizes for that. And now, when they've been shown up to be liars and propagandists, what are they doing? They're trying to ignore it, pretending it's not happening, or they're trying to debunk it. I think the fact of that Rasmussen poll showing that a majority of Americans are paying attention to this story shows just how impotent those media outlets are. It's like the boy who cried wolf. No one is listening to them anymore.
Well, let's do something that I don't normally do, and let's give credit to one of those mainstream media outlets for a second here. I'm going to give credit to CNN about something. Yeah, they have Scott Jennings, and he is the voice of reason over there.
He's
the
great.
Contrarian voice. But they do have somebody else that's caught my attention lately, and that is Harry Enton. Now, Harry Enton is a guy on CNN who runs polls, and I have met Harry before. I would doubt very seriously that he's some kind of Republican, but that doesn't seem to preclude him, and nobody requires that. It doesn't preclude him from reading polls and telling the truth. I'd be fascinated to see what the ratings are during a Harry Enton segment when he's telling that audience about the way things are going, according to polling. And here's what he said recently about Donald Trump's presidency on CNN.
Love it, like it, lump it. Trump's remaking the United States of America. We can start there with tariffs. What are we talking about? No tacos for Trump. The effective tariff rate, get this, 18%. It is the highest, Omar, the highest since the 1930s, up from, get this, just 2% last year. As I'm going to talk about in this segment, I can't think of a more influential president during this century, and it starts here with tariffs. He said he was going to raise tariffs, and despite the claims otherwise, he is in fact doing that. The effective tariff rate at this point looks to be 9 times as high as it was last year, the highest since the 1930s in FDR, Omar.
Okay, so he's talking about tariffs there, Miranda, and he's just giving you facts about the level of the tariff rates and how different they are from the past in the history of the United States of America. He also did a thing on net migration, illegal immigration, but also just net migration, which is, again, just offering facts to the audience. And then he offers a qualitative assessment in addition to those quantitative assessments. And that qualitative assessment is, he said, he is the most influential president of this century. I have already said that I think Donald Trump belongs on Mount Rushmore. I qualitatively go another level, that the influence is positive and huge and all of these things. But he is saying something there that audience surely needs to understand. If they want to come away from that saying it's a negative influence, that's their prerogative, right? The viewer, the host, whoever's listening to Harry Enton. But he's right. Like, I think objectively that's true qualitatively. He's the most influential president of the 21st century.
And incredible that we're saying that after just 6 months. He's so emboldened now. He's so much wiser. And he's trusting his instincts more than ever And, you know, at the age of 79, he has the wisdom and the life knowledge and the knocks and bruises in politics, like I guess, you know, few people have really experienced in the last 8 years. And so he's come through all that, including assassination attempts, victorious. And so that's given him some sort of superhuman energy and strength to do what needs to be done for the benefit of America. And look, people can like Donald Trump or not like Donald Trump, but I think I've interviewed him enough and been around him enough to know that he does everything from the point of view of patriotism. He puts America first. That's not an empty slogan. He really does. I mean, the New York Times had a story poo-pooing and drawing criticism from so-called experts about the fact that Donald Trump is building this $200 million ballroom at the White House. He's a builder, and that's something that he's observed that the White House has needed for many years. He scoffed at how, you know, under Obama and Biden, they had to have tents in the garden when they had state dinners because there just wasn't a big enough room in the actual White House to hold these events. And so he's building this beautiful ballroom. He showed me in Scotland at Turnberry the identical ballroom that he's going to model it on that he just recently built. And it is magnificent, you know, absolutely fitting for America, for the leading country in the world to have this magnificent ballroom, and he's paying for it himself. He's not asking the taxpayers to pay for it. And the New York Times managed to find fault in that. You know, he, as he says, he could walk on water and these outlets would find fault. So I don't think he cares anymore. And as we see from the Rasmussen poll, the American people are figuring out the truth by themselves. You've got a guy like Harry Inton at CNN, who, I mean, I don't know him. I don't know what his politics are, but he's obviously an honest pollster. He's not going to get up there and gaslight and lie to the public, to his audience, because that's, you know, not what he does. And that's not how you win approval and ratings. You do it by being honest, even if it ruffles some feathers. You just tell people the truth as it comes down, for good or for bad. And eventually they will come to trust you. And that's what these outlets have lost, is trust.
Right. That's all we ask. That's all we ask. You don't have to cheerlead. You can criticize. Just tell the truth. That's all.
Yes.
It's the minimum bar. Sometimes you'll fail. Sometimes you succeed. Hold yourself accountable and just try your best to always arrive at the truth. You can get more truth by checking out Pod Force One. You can hear Miranda with the president and many other administration officials. Her new podcast. Check it out. Check out her column at the New York Post. Miranda, always great to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much, Will.
All right, there she goes. Miranda Divine. Coming up, you have jumped into the comments section. You have some things to say about that brawl in Cincinnati, both ways. Those that think I'm right and those that think I'm wrong. I'm going to bring you into the show. Plus, I'm going to bring in Joey Jones when we come back on Will Cain Country. Democrats take off and run in Texas. And a man kicked out of a St. Louis City MLS game because he's wearing a MAGA hat. It is Will Cain Country, streaming live at foxnews.com. On the Fox News YouTube channel, the Fox News Facebook page, Spotify, and Apple. That's where you join us. Just make sure you do whenever and however you like. Subscribe, reminders, comments. You become a part of our community, as have many of you who have weighed in on what I had to say about the brawl in Cincinnati. So let me go to YouTube and see what we have to hear from the militia. So first of all, Brett Jocks says, they tried defusing. Dude kept approaching, didn't watch his mouth, and slapped that black man. Okay, I'm going to pair that with a comment from Sean Carson, who says to me, dude slapped someone, F-A-F-O, and then Senior L. Well, you have never been in a street fight, 0 to 200 in a split second. All right, let's just address those comments for just one moment from Brett, Sean, and Senior L. The issue is not whether or not someone can defend themselves on either side of that fight. it's true. If you slap someone, be prepared to get struck back. I will sit here and argue that words do not equal getting jumped by a gang. I do think that cliches and traditions are inherently baked within wisdom. That's why they survive. Why is a tradition stuck around for thousands of years? Well, because it's true or it works. Why is a cliche something people repeat? Because there is at some level some element of truth. So when someone says sticks and stones may break my bones, but your words will never hurt me, there's some wisdom. There is no word. Honestly, there is no insult that necessitates violence. I understand that's not a hard and fast rule. There's a lot of people who said things to you and maybe you want to fight. But that's not the end of this story, because we're not talking about two dudes squaring up, boxing each other on the streets. We're talking about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 dudes jumping one dude. And what I'd say to you there is the wisdom, cliche, truism you should know is, if it takes 4 or 5 of you, then you have no spine. You are weak. You're a chump. You get no respect. That's what we saw. A mob, a gang, a swarm of people on 1, 2, 3 people. One of them was a woman, which then we go to, oh no, says on YouTube. You just don't touch anyone over a nasty word. And why do they call each other that word all the time? Whatever the rules and hall passes and licenses and cards may be on who uses and who doesn't get to use, I think we all intuitively understand it. It does show in that moment the absurdity of this rule, license, or hall pass. When we got to beep them out, we don't know who said what. Oh, the reports are now someone said the N-word, therefore we can have, I guess, gang violence? Mob violence? Who said it? Don't know, because everybody was saying it. It's all beeped out. And then Gibson says, why did the woman deserve to get knocked out by a full-grown man? Tell me that, tough guy who's been in so many streets fights that goes 0 to 100, 0 to 200. Tell me that. Tell me about FAFO and why a woman got knocked out, pummeled by a man. While you're formulating your words, reach behind your back and see if you can notice any vertebrae. Or if you're sitting in that chair, spineless, the same way you are in real life that you are on the internet. Keep bringing your comments, though. We love it when you are a member of the Willis Show. All right, joining me now is Joey Jones, our friend, guest host here on Will Cain Country when we're out often. And he is also celebrating his Alive Day.
Yeah.
It's actually part of a special on Fox Nation entitled Alive Day, The Reunion. He also has a very successful book, Behind the Badge. And he's a retired Marine Staff Sergeant. What's up, Joey?
Hey, man, what's going on?
Oh, not much. Before I move on to the news of the day and the various things I want to talk to you about.
Sure.
I know you got to sit in that chair for a minute when you heard me interacting with the comments and talking about this thing in Cincinnati. N-word, was it said, was it not said? Does it justify? How many guys does it justify? Does it justify mob violence? How do you explain the woman? What are your thoughts on what we saw in Cincinnati?
Yeah, I mean, if you need 5 or 6 or 10 of your friends to help you settle a score, then that's no longer FAFO or, you know, settle it with our fists. That's chicken crap is what it is. That's absolutely, that's mob mentality, and that is not law and order. I mean, I don't really care. I've been called baby killer. I've been called out before I lost my legs to fight somebody. It was never, ever in the front of my mind that to bring 10 Marines with me to fight somebody. And I've pulled my Marines off of guys in bars. Like, I've seen a million bar fights. I've never seen one turn into a 10-on-1 or 15-on-2. That's just not, there's no honor in that. And if you're defending your honor because someone called you a name, I mean, I think that shows a lack of emotional intelligence, but I've learned not to expect that from the greater populace. But if that's your mentality, is you called me a name, so I have to punch you, okay. Well, that means 10 of you have to punch a couple, you know. And also, I mean, the very last thought is these things rarely happen around sober people. That's why I don't drink. Certainly don't drink in public.
Well, I like how you brought up, though, if you're doing this to defend your honor, you've undercut your honor by doing it with nine of your
exactly
buddies.
Right. And I can't say
it's not really
that
about honor, is it? What is
and
it
I can't
about?
say that couple's innocent. I don't know if they threw out racial slurs or pushed somebody or slapped somebody. But, I mean, just how, like, if I fought everybody that called me a name, threw a shoulder into me at a bar, or attempted to slap me in the face, like, if you slap me, I'm going to laugh at you. You know, like, so I just think that I think we can't accept or tolerate this kind of behavior.
All right, speaking of that, you brought up your career. It's on Fox Nation right now. It's called Alive Day, The Reunion. It's the 15th anniversary of your Alive Day. Tell us about that a little bit. First of all, I think you have to start with explain to us Alive Day.
Yeah, we call it, it's not a tradition I started. It was around long before I got injured. But when you get injured the way I did, catastrophically injured, meaning without severe medical attention, you're going to die. And I think bleeding out of 3 limbs and a punctured lung kind of equates to that. You call it an Alive Day because it's the day you stayed alive and when you couldn't have or maybe shouldn't have. For me, I don't celebrate my Alive Day. I observe it because much more importantly than losing my legs, I lost a good friend and a hero, Daniel Greer, from the same IED that I stepped on. And then consequently, Floyd Holly, a mentor, a much more senior EOD tech that was working the same area that I probably would have been had I not gotten injured. He was killed by an IED just a couple of weeks later. And so my Alive Day for me is a way to honor Daniel and to honor the service and sacrifice of all the men I was fighting with on Operation Safar Bazaar, or Operation Roadhouse 2, the taking of Safar Bazaar, which was what I was injured on. And this piece, this Fox Nation special, is called The Reunion because it's not about me. I brought in 3 of the guys I served with, 2 of which were on that operation with me. The other was our commanding officer. And we just spent time together for a couple of days reminiscing on our platoon, the amazing characters in it. I mean, it really is reality TV show-like, just the hodgepodge of personalities that gravitated towards being a bomb tech and then deployed together, and all the antics and things that happened leading up to our deployment, during our deployment, and then to see what they're all up to now. I think I didn't know this when we filmed it. I didn't know it till I watched it. But I think the message I walked away from watching it, and I hope that Americans or our viewers see, is that we spend so much time talking about the plight and the suffering and what we can do for our veterans post-war, which is very legitimate. But we don't spend much time celebrating the brotherhood and successes and careers and achievements of veterans post-war, which I think are in a greater number.
Right.
And I think that we really showcase that in this piece.
You know, that's such an interesting point. We do, often when we talk about service, we have that conversation through the lens of honor and sacrifice.
Yeah.
We don't often have that conversation around celebration and achievement. And I actually even think it would help with recruiting, to say, look at all these guys and the men they've turned out into being or were and now are in the private sector, and in many instances, to your point, have achieved at some really, really high levels. Because, by the way, we don't know. Like, I'll often have guests on, Joey, on the Will Cain show, and maybe they're a public official, maybe they're a politician, but often sometimes they're big business leaders, and it comes out later, oh, yeah, I served, I did this or that. Like, man, we should know a lot more about these high-achieving vets.
You're right. In our world, it's usually like, J.D. Vance was a Lance Corporal in the Marine Corps, and he will forever be a legend because the Lance Corporal is that rank, like, you're going to make it to Lance Corporal even if you get in trouble. And so if you go beyond Lance Corporal, that means you've earned more. And so they call it the Lance Corporal Mafia because you've got guys that have stayed Lance Corporal for 2 or 3 enlistments. And so for him to be specifically a lower-ranking Marine and to become Vice President of the United States is it's almost ironic. It's an inside joke. He'll always be a legend. But that's politics. We don't celebrate, maybe as much like the idea that you've got Starbucks and Dunkin', and the next one there is Black Rifle Coffee. Like, that's a veteran-owned business and a veteran-branded business. There are so many success stories at a much more local level, at a much more at a level of family. Like, I've got buddies that have found the love of their lives, had kids, and now they're seeing their kids go into the military. That's a success in life, man. They've raised humans in a happy and healthy home and are seeing them off to serve their country and become heroes of their own. Those are the successes we never talk about. And why? I guess the same reason that people complain about we never talk about the good news. You know, we always talk about the house burning, not the cat saved from the tree. There's more intrigue there when something's wrong. But I think it's worth taking time to showcase, and we do that in this piece of like, I don't see these guys every year. I haven't seen them every handful of years, but I talk to them every day on a group text, and they're out doing amazing things.
Last question on this. You brought up like the hodgepodge of guys who are bomb techs. A couple of summers ago, I did this series, Joey, like a Warriors series, and focused a lot on like special operations guys, SEALs, Green Berets, Delta. And the thing that always fascinates me is the guy that ends up one of those guys, meaning I was looking for one thing I've been able to learn through my exposure is there is no consistency on body type.
Yeah.
You know, there's big guys, little guys, tall guys, short guys. There's no prototype, right? And then you start going, well, what about personality-wise? And I've seen quiet guys and huge personality guys. I've seen it all over the place, right? And so you're kind of led to believe, no, there's not really. But I will say, specifically when it comes to SEALs, who I think I've been around the most, there is a refusal to say no or an aggro mentality that is common underneath all those other differences. What would you say is there a through line, a prototype, a personality type that is the bomb tech?
Yeah, there's not. It's such a hard thing to describe. When you watch this special, you'll see three very different personalities in my friends Jared, Drew, and Matt. I mean, polar opposite personalities. Drew is super reserved and calm and quiet. Jared he'll tell you what he thinks, but you're going to have to ask, and he's not going to sugarcoat it. And Matt is much more like me. He's very outgoing. He knows how to make people laugh, and he also wants to keep the peace in the group, and like, you know, he's like me in that way. But I'll say the one common denominator is an acceptance of the mission, and like this something in them said, if somebody, let it be me. And that's a cool thing. You know, that's a cool thing to have in common with a group of guys that you don't have much else in common with. And it's more than enough, I guess.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. Me. I'll go. All right. So check that out. Check out Alive Day, the reunion on Fox Nation. I've got Joey here. I want to talk about a couple of other things in the news. There's a huge story brewing, Joey, like as we speak throughout the day. It'll be covered extensively today on the Will Cain Show, and it's out of the state of Texas, where the Texas Republican Congress has redrawn the districting lines in the state. It still has to be passed through both bodies of the state legislature, but if it does, it will draw the map such that there will end up most likely +5 new Republican seats in the United States House of Representatives. So state legislatures draw up the map for what ends up being the federal representation. So, you know, it's like Republicans have a majority of 3 right now. I believe it's 3 in the United States Congress.
And I think there's one retirement on the way. So that is even shrinking.
It's so tight.
Yeah.
So tight. And so now this gives you a +5 cushion. Now Democrats are screaming that it's gerrymandering and this and that. And, you know, I've looked at the Texas map, by the way. It doesn't look crazy. In fact, in some ways, geographically, it looks more coherent. But that wouldn't make Texas any different than any place else. Like, you ever seen California's
exactly right.
lines? All these Democrats, by the way, have ran to Illinois. You want to see something funny? Look at the Illinois congressional districts and how they're drawn. And many, like Gavin Newsom, are saying if Texas does this, wait till you see what we draw. But those Texas Dems have ran. They did this once before in the past because if you run and leave the state, you deprive the legislature of a quorum. There's 150 state reps. You got to have 100 for a quorum. There's 50-something Democrats, so all 50 of them, if they leave, they deprive a quorum, and you can't vote on it and pass this new map. And Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, is saying, back by 3 p.m. Central, or you lose your job. You're not performing. You're a no-show. We replace you. Now, I don't know if he can do that legally. I don't know how it's going to work, but that's going to play out today in Texas, Joey.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I think it was North Carolina most recently that went through lawsuits over their redistricting, and it was kind of a big deal. But we hear about this from states kind of all the time. The other side of this is a lot of Americans didn't understand how the census plays a role in deciding congressional districts. We just went through California losing seats, and I think Texas picked up a seat or two, in Florida. Georgia was just like 10,000 people away from adding a seat. And these are the states that people are migrating to versus the ones they're migrating from. The ugly truth of that is the states, these blue states are very okay with illegal immigration, and they advocate for citizenship to not be a question on the census. So you actually can harvest votes in the sense of harvest votes in the House by bringing in illegal people who get counted on the census. So the reason why I bring that up is that is an absolute strategy of Democrats, especially those in Texas, where we have a lot of illegal immigration. They would love to have a couple 100,000 more illegals in Austin and maybe Houston and pick up a seat. I mean, I'm sure they would love to. And so this idea that this is a one-sided partisan issue that's out the window, because in the states where Democrats can do it, they do it. In the states where Republicans can do it, like Texas, they're trying to do it. I hate it on both sides, to be honest with you. I want to see competitive elections. I want to see people grouped into a congressional district where either industry or community or culture binds them together. And I wish there were an objective way to do that, but per our Constitution, there really isn't, because our founding fathers decided that states get the power and the say on how to conduct their elections. It's a federalist system. And as long as there are state legislatures full of people that want to have one of those congressional districts, they're going to work to create congressional districts they can go run for.
Yeah.
And so in a lot of ways, even inter-party.
That's federalism.
Yeah, exactly. But even within parties, you'll see someone get drawn out of their district to open that seat up, and then someone of their own party from the state legislature will run for it and get it. So it's very cutthroat. It's not necessarily in effect to help represent us. It seems very selfish, but it also stops a very powerful federal government telling a state how it can conduct its business.
Totally. All right, I want to hit two stories with Joey before we go here today. So this is from the MLS, St. Louis City, and I think we have some video. A guy was at this game wearing a MAGA hat, and he's booted. Yeah. And I think before I play the video, I want to say I feel bad for the cop that has to boot him, because you can hear the cop in the video saying, hey, man, I'm MAGA. I mean, like, but I have to kick you. Anyway, here's the video from St. Louis.
So I just want all these coppers you got to deal with them MAGA, but they don't do non-political. They don't want any kind of political.
So those flags over there,
those are pre-approved.
Those flags over there, those aren't political. So my question to you guys is: are these rules equally enforced on everybody?
And here's my question to you.
And the only way I can do that is if I enforce it with you. Go out and handcuff. So I'm being threatened with arrest. What law am I breaking?
Yeah, if you.
All right, so he points out there's all these. He points out, by the way, if you're listening on radio or on podcast, he points out all these pride flags and, I don't know, LGBTQ trans flags that are hanging at the stadium. And he's like, wait a minute, you can have those, but I can't wear a MAGA hat? And whatever, pre-approved, I don't know, whatever. And he's booted. He's kicked out of the stadium.
Yeah, listen, I kind of see both sides of this in the sense of, if I'm going to take up for the cake baker that doesn't want to do a cake for a gay couple because I think he has the right, whether I agree or not, then do I take up for a business that decides what political signage they want at their game or not? On its face, maybe, but on the other side, all of those teams get a lot of public funding to build their stadiums and to keep their teams in that city. And I don't know everything behind this specific franchise. But I think that's different, right? It's the difference between a mom and pop, a guy that may not even have the money to buy lawyers, getting sued into oblivion over his religious freedom, and a sports team that's getting public funding and is, in my opinion, takes up a different space in the public square, saying, oh, you can do this political speech, but you can't do that political speech. And they say, well, the only way we can do it fairly is if we kick you out. It's like, okay, but you're not kicking them out because somehow those are pre-approved. I think the guy's got two things going on. One, I think he knew what he was doing. He brought his phone out and he's gone viral. But really, I mean, that's what you're doing. You're going around pulling people out of games because they have a MAGA hat on. It doesn't even say Trump on it, right? It just says, make America great again.
Those are really good points. I do believe a private business should be able to dictate the messages that they want displayed within the confines of their business. I don't think a cake baker should be forced to bake a cake that they don't want to bake.
Yeah.
I don't think that if a grocery store says clerks checking people out, to the extent we still have that and it's not automated. Clerks checking people out, can't wear a MAGA hat or a I'm with her hat, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, totally get that. I used to talk about this on ESPN. They can tell you, don't talk politics here. We don't want to talk politics. Yeah, totally. It's their business. So that's a really good point. The public funding of the stadiums, I don't know if you sacrifice your private rights as a business. I don't know. But what it tells us is they have a First Amendment right, the business. But that doesn't make them right? Yeah. So we move beyond that the private business has the right to do it. Then we go, okay, but this is who you are, St. Louis City. You know, and there's value in pointing that out. This is who you are and what you choose to do with your First Amendment. You choose to say trans flag, LGBT flag, but no MAGA. And I guess then every consumer can go, for me, not for me.
Well, I mean, could you imagine if they said those are pre-approved? And maybe this is where the right needs to step it up. You know, there's so many organizations that are well-funded that, you know, show them that have, you know, obscure names, you know, Civil Rights Group of St. Louis or something, and they're really an LGBTQ advocacy group, and they make a partnership and they get their flag in there. Maybe we need Second Amendment. Maybe we need come and take it flags that are pre-approved, right? Like call their bluff. Maybe we need to be more organized on the right, on the things that we advocate for that we feel like are under attack. And maybe there needs to be a come and take it flag and a don't tread on me flag that we say peacefully represents our beliefs. I feel like they wouldn't be as well received, though.
All right, last thing with you, Joey. I'm sure you have a good hot take on this. We did it last week in 2 days in tinfoil. You know what? 2 days. Can you bring up? Do you have? Joey is in New York with you, so see if you can bring up. Can you bring up tinfoil as well? I need him real quick on this segment. Can you bring up his mic?
Yep, we're up.
Okay, tinfoil.
I don't know if he's muted though, but
10-4?
10-4.
We got you, tinfoil,
buddy. I'm in
10-4.
here.
Okay. I need you. You were so good at this last week, and so I want to outsource this to you today as our news person. Would you please tell us what happened in the WNBA over the weekend? It appears that we have a sequel of what happened last week, and you were so good at explaining it last week. Would you help us understand what happened in the WNBA?
Listen, Will, there was a second adult marital aid thrown on the court.
Adult marital aid. I don't know if that's well, anyway.
Do you have to be married
no, we're
to
still
use
trying
it?
to figure
That's my
that out,
question.
Joey.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
right.
Yeah. Anyway,
like a marital aid, like a
I believe the technical
therapist?
term. I believe
like a therapist.
I believe the technical term is dildo. I'm pretty sure. I believe we can say
scientific
that, right?
term.
That's not a bad word. That's just the word.
That's
right?
what I said.
Yeah.
Joey, he danced around that, and that word did not cross his lips last week. And we were like, "What is it, like a sleep mask?
He's a good Catholic,
What's an
that's
adult
why.
marital aid? What is that?"
It is what it is.
But I appreciate tinfoil not wanting to jeopardize his job by being accurate. And you might be right, Joey. Is there a more sanitized word than that? Is there a more like clinical word?
Not
or is that just what
not
it
in the
is?
area I come from. That's
And
about
we
as
all
good
just-
as you're going to get. I mean,
And we all just giggle at it.
we have the euphemism or the synonym of Bob Barker. That's how you talk about it in front of kids. You know, not to say that we talk about it in front of kids.
Oh, I've never heard that.
Yeah, it's if you
Bob
ever look at his
Barker?
microphone,
What did he
you'll
do?
understand. Yeah, the Bob Barker microphone had a
Steely
I've
Dan.
never heard that.
Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it?
2 days. Two days. Will you just use your AI real quick while we're talking here and see if there's a clinical term that besides adult marital aid that we could be using. So tinfoil, a second one was thrown on the court. Is that right?
Second one, also lime green.
Yeah.
And so
Hey, all right. What's with the lime green? Are they buying them in bulk? Is there a store right now that's going, what's going on with all our lime green dildos? I don't know. They just keep showing up on the WNBA court. Why is everybody
I think
going with lime green?
It's because you can't help but see it. It can't blend in with anything when it's that color. You know, like it's if you want to.
Okay.
Oh man.
Okay. 2 days.
All right.
You have some language rules for us or some advice.
So for that word that I won't say, the neutral words are sex toy, adult toy, pleasure device, a little more playful, euphemistic,
Yeah, but
love wand.
Love wand.
Okay, the first two are too generic. Sex toy could be, there's literally, I wouldn't know, but I believe there's like dozens of things that would satisfy that category.
Bedroom
right?
accessory.
Now, a love wand is interesting because your brain does lead you in the right direction on that. Okay. Thank you for that help, 2-a-days. So, Joey, tinfoil as our newsreader, make sure we get all the facts right if we've missed anything here. But a second one was thrown onto a game court. I believe both times it was the Golden State Valkyries who were playing. I think they were playing away games too. So if we're narrowing down the suspect here, might look for a Valkyrie fan who's willing to travel. And someone pointed out how they getting these into the stadium, and I thought, well, I can think of an easy way. I think it would survive both the X-ray detector, the metal detector, and a frisk. I can think of a way to get it into the stadium.
So, in your hypothesis, is that a male or a female bringing it in? I'm just curious. I mean,
Joey, what is a woman? What is a woman?
That's fair.
How about that security guard on the woman who brings that in? He goes with the pat down and eyes get big for a second. Okay, so the question is, for me on this, apparently there's been betting odds, and Clay Travis has posted this, on if a second one would happen and what color would be the love wand if it happened. And you could get betting odds on this. Now, and I don't know who was putting the betting odds out, like what reputable betting firm. But here's my thing, and somebody posted this on the internet. I thought it was great. It's about $200 a ticket to a WNBA game, and about $20 for a love wand.
Yeah.
So I place my bet. I throw my love wand.
Exactly.
And I cash in the 20-1 odds. Is that how this works?
Didn't this happen with a streaker at the Super Bowl one year? I'm pretty sure this happened. That somebody placed a big bet that there would be a streaker and when it would happen, and then he did it and got himself bailed out and still put money in his pocket. I mean, you can't bet on acts of free will that are highly publicized. That's just bad business.
I wonder if the betting houses have a clause. You can't be the one that effectuates the outcome of the bet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but maybe didn't you just have your buddy make the bet, right? And you split the money with him.
Yeah, there you go.
Here's the
Easy
deal.
fix.
I learned about this through a meme, and you know how you see screenshots of people's posts, and you don't know if it's real or not. So I saw a screenshot just a couple hours ago, and it was Sophie Cunningham posting, "Please stop." This is a direct quote, by the way. "Please stop throwing dildos on the court. It's dangerous." And somebody commented under it, "Stop playing basketball at the dildo range." And I couldn't help. I mean, listen, I'm not taking a stance on the ethics of this, but that was hilarious.
Well, I'm taking a stance, Joey. There's no reason to stay in. Don't throw love wands onto the court.
Oh, I agree.
But if you do, we can't. But if you do, we're allowed to giggle. It's kind of funny. All right, Joey Jones. Check out A Live Day, the reunion on Fox Nation. Fun hanging out with you. Thank you, Joey.
Thanks, brother.
All right, there we go. There's Joey Jones, Miranda Divine. Good show today. We hope you think so as well. And if you do, we hope you'll give us a 5-star review. We're going to be back here, right here. Same time, same place. Fox News YouTube, Fox News Facebook, 12 o'clock Eastern time. We hope we will see you then next time.